Stephen Bartholomeusz, why are Woodside shareholders unlikely to vote for this buyback?
There's two reasons. One is a matter of principle, that they believe a selective buyback denies the other shareholders the opportunity to get the benefits of a buyback, which is fundamentally the franking credits. Under the proposal, Woodside would buy back Shell shares for $2.7 billion, a 14% discount to market, so there's some appeal in that. That would give Shell the benefit of $1 billion worth of franking credits. Institutional shareholders say, well, why can't we have some of that? Because it's a very tax-effective way to cash out a part of your shareholding. So they're hoping that by defeating the buyback, they'll force Woodside into a more general buyback, which they can participate in. And perhaps also they might be hoping that Shell is just forced to dump those shares on market, and they can get those shares cheaply too.
Right. So the vote is on Friday, and how far across the line does Woodside need to get, and how far away is that?
They need a majority, 75% majority. It's a special resolution. The proxies were in today. About 60% of those the shares that can be voted at the meeting, because Shell can't vote, have voted, and 71% of them are for it, and 28.7% are against it. And given that that's the bulk of the institutional vote, you would think, unless there's an extraordinary turnout at the meeting from retail shareholders and smaller institutions, you'd assume it's going to get knocked off.
And if you're a retail shareholder, how do you feel about this?
I think the retail shareholders tend to follow their board, and the board's very keen that this should go ahead so they can reduce the overhang of the Shell market, of the Shell shares on their market. So you'd assume the retail shareholders would be following the board's advice. Whether there are enough of them to make a difference is another issue. It's the institutions who get the benefit of the full benefit of the tax credits and the rebates associated with franking credits. It's worth up to $7 a share for a non-tax-paying institution to get access to those credits. So you can see there's a huge element of self-interest in the institutional resistance to the notion. If I was a retail shareholder at Woodside, you'd weigh it up and you'd say, if we can get that Shell holding, which started at 23% and they sold 9.5% of the market for $3.2 billion, if we can get that holding down below 5% so that it's meaningless in terms of the overhang, that's a positive thing. And if in the process we can put a little bit more leverage into a balance sheet which is very under-leveraged, and leverage up our performance statistics, we'll have high earnings per share, high dividends per share. That's not a bad outcome, which is why the Woodside directors are so keen to promote it. But at the end of the day, Shell will be gone anyway. They're having this massive house cleaning sale across the group, getting rid of non-core assets, cutting costs, and a 13.5% shareholding in Woodside, which is what they would be left with if they can't get this thing through, is meaningless in the context of Shell. So it'll go. It's just a question of how and when. So the outcome at the end of the day won't be a bad one for Woodside or its shareholders if the proposal does get defeated. Just a slightly messier and also slightly embarrassing for the Woodside directors.
And finally, Steve, shouldn't the company be spending money on acquisitions rather than giving it back to shareholders?
Look, I think there's a hiatus in their project pipeline. They haven't got another big LNG project on the drawing boards at this stage. They've got some potential ones, but nothing imminent. They've looked at acquisitions. They looked at buying the Leviathan field, buying into the Leviathan field off Israel. That fell through, basically as the terms changed against them. I assume they scoured the world looking for sensible opportunities. The fact that they preferred the Shell buyback tells you that they thought this was the most compelling one. That buying their own shares back was more attractive than anything else they could do.
Stephen Bartholomeusz, thanks very much.
Thanks, Jackson.